All right. Well, we should be live. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. This is the January 21st, 2021 webinar hosted by AppSheetTraining.com. My name is Clark James. I'll be your host. I'm also accompanied by CJ Pye. CJ, say hello to your fans.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Glad to have you.
All right. Well, great. Well, we're going to jump in right quick. CJ, if you hit the next slide, we do still have that $39 sale. I assumed that Stefan was going to take it down, but he hasn't yet. So I still don't know when that will be off the market. So feel free to hit that up ASAP. As well as if you haven't gotten our Crew Tools extension, it's a game changer. It will honestly change your life in AppSheet. So helpful. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to CJ. I want to make sure we have enough time to go over his demo app today. It's going to be awesome.
Well, I hope so. We'll get to see that extension in action as well, I believe. But for today's demo, we're going to be doing a UX or UI focused demo. So user experience and the user interface, and just a cool little. The main focus is going to be on this kind of app launcher menu style of an app, which is something that we use a lot at Crew and I use a lot. And it's just a cool way to navigate around your app and really focus your users' kind of pathway through your application. And so some of the topics that will be covered are these four, if you can see that on your screen. I'm talking about that app menu that I mentioned, using kind of these accessory tables as navigation links. I'll explain that more as we get into it. And then I mentioned controlling your user flow through the app, and then how to load in custom icons into AppSheet in this kind of gallery view that we're going to be using. So those are some of the topics that hopefully you will come away knowing more about. That is for the end. And so I'm going to go ahead and switch over to showing you my Google Sheet and building out this app a little bit together with you. So I put a little bit of prep into this just to save us time and kind of be able to focus on the parts that I want to highlight. But if you see something in here that you have questions about or that I didn't explain thoroughly, please reach out to one of the Crew Tech team or Clark. His email will be at the end on the last slide.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go ahead and hide this toolbar really quick. The first thing that I want to show everyone is building out that app launcher menu that I kind of mentioned, and how to do that. And as with a lot of AppSheet apps, I'm going to start with my data, with my Google Sheet. So I made this first sheet here called App Menu. And this is going to kind of be the table that powers my home screen for my app. And I was testing some stuff out earlier, so I already have a couple of views in there. But we'll get to that, and we're going to kind of build the first couple of views from scratch. So the app that I spun up is this. You can see it's very bare bones. It doesn't have anything over here in the emulator, and we're going to create that first view together. But just if you're watching this and you're super new to AppSheet and have never even kind of spun up your own app before, I'm just going to show you how to do that. So obviously Google Sheets, you can just go to googlesheets.com and create a new sheet, and then each of these tabs across the bottom is going to be its own table. And then if you go to appsheet.com, which is www.appsheet.com, it'll prompt you to make an account. And once you enter your email and create a password and all that good stuff, you'll land on this My Apps page. And then right here at the top of My Apps, there's this quick start, make a new app button. And so the way that you would spin up a new app is you would click that, hit start with your own data if you'd already created your sheet like me. And then when you hit choose your own data at the bottom, you would select Google, and that will actually go in and look at your Google account that you signed up with. So in my case, my email is a Gmail account. So Google is a data source option. It can automatically pull from my Google Sheets, my Google Drive. AppSheet kind of automatically links into that. So I would click on Google and then select, show this menu here. So it brings up a menu from my Google Drive, and then I would select my Google Sheet, and it would spin up a new app for me. So that's just kind of the super quick run through of how you would spin up an app from scratch if you've never done that before. But once you hit that, select your data source, it would create a new app, take a few seconds, and then it would spit you into a view like this. And this is the AppSheet editor. So that's kind of how we got to where we are. And now I just want to build out that home menu view that we were talking about and show you how you can use deep link, expressions to do that. And so I already added all the tables that we're going to be using in here, but the one I want to point out is this app menu table. So that's this guy. And this is going to kind of act as each row is going to be representing a different view. And so the launcher view, I'm going to go ahead and make that and call it, oops, that's not the right one, and call it home. So this is going to be the view that is kind of our main app menu. You can see it's bringing up those two rows that I already have in there. And for this data, it's going to be that app menu table. And then we have some options on actually which view type we use. We can use gallery, we can use a card view, and I think we could also theoretically use a deck view, but a big part of this is the image part, and so we want to use a gallery or a card view. In my case, I like the new updated UI on the card view, so I'm going to select that. And then we've got some layout options on the card view. Any of these would work fine. I'm going to do the large one and kind of customize that to look the way I want it to do. So before we customize it though, let's go ahead and save it, and then we'll go through the uploading the custom icons part. Whoa. So you can see on our home view, we still have this plus button. We're actually going to hide that in a second. But to add a view in here, since we're connected to our, oh, that's why it's showing this, because it switched the tables on me. So since we're connected to our app menu view, if we hit plus here, it's just going to take us to our basic form to add a row to this table. And so later, we're going to hide this plus view, and then whenever we select a row from this card view, it's actually going to run some actions in the background instead of taking us to the detail view like this. So we're not going to do this functionality. We're going to have selecting this link to another view. And so that's kind of the whole idea of the app menu itself, is having a list of different views here that will you just link to them from this home page. Also to preface, I said inventory, I meant to say inspection. This is kind of built around the idea of an inspection app. And so so say you have building A and B, and you're going to perform inspections on those buildings. That's kind of the general templated use case that I came up with. So the kind of two really simple views that I want to start with are actually just start new inspection and view inspections that have already been started. Those are kind of the two views I want to start with. And so let's go ahead and build those, and we're going to get these two building views hidden. But to start, let's do the first one is start new inspection. actually inspection here. And so you can see I have a link name and a display name, and you may be wondering why I have two different names. And that's because the link name is the column that I'm going to use in the deep link expression to specifically link to the view that I want to go to. So the text value in the link name column has to exactly match the name of the view that I'm linking to, or in the way that I'm going to set it up, it needs to. And so whatever I put here needs to be also the name of the view that I link to. So in this case, that view is going to be called Start Inspection. So we'll create that view here in a second. The display name is what I'm going to put as the text on the home screen in that card view. So this is what it's actually going to display to the user. And these two things might be different. So in this case, I'm going to make them different to illustrate that. And then this would be hidden. I'm using it for something else, so you can ignore that. And then subheader is just some text that will go underneath for more information that we might use. So start a new building inspection. And then, so here we come to the icon part. And so this is a cool thing that I want to show you. I'm actually going to go find a custom icon from the internet and upload it through this form. And so that will be our icon for this view. And so it'll give it a nice look and feel. And the website, there's several different websites you can use, icons.db, and many, many others. But I'm going to go with the material design kind of style today. And so this site is called material.io. And it's a big database of icons that are in the material design style, which is Google, Android, that whole family of icons. You can use others. Like I said, there's a lot of other sites, but this is one I like. I think a lot of these icons look good. And when you go to this website, you'll land on this home page, and it'll have a lot of icons of all sorts of different things. And on the left here, you've got some options on the type, whether filled, outlined, two-tone, etc. I'm going to go with sharp, and the view that we're picking this icon for is the Start Inspections view. So this is going to be just one of the menu views that says start a new inspection. So that's kind of the thing that I'm looking for. So, the first word that comes to mind is start. A couple of icons. Okay, maybe I don't like any of those. Sorry, my headset turned off there. Okay, so there's some other ones in here. Add. I like some of these. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick this no add icon because I don't know, when I think inspection, I think paper and it's got the plus. So to me that says kind of new inspection. So once I click it, you'll see this selected icon menu come up here. I'm gonna expand it. I don't want an SVG, I want a PNG. And then I want to select the kind of highest quality and biggest one that I can. So I would recommend either doing the 48 DP or selecting one of the two mobile app grade ones. So I'll pick the Android package. My app is a dark theme, so I checked the white color. So it'll show up better against the darker background. And then I just click download PNG. And then I'm going to save this to a folder that I have set up called App Icons. And then I'm going to need to extract this folder as well. Classic Windows folder management. And then you see, once you get into the folders, you've got a bunch of different options, but essentially I'm going to go for the highest DPI one, which is this bottom one here. And then you see I've got several different sizes of this icon. So I'm going to select the biggest one, and that's the one we're going to use. So if we go back to our app editor, and I click this camera button, I will be able to go back into that same folder and select my new icon, just like that. And so when I save it, it'll save that image into this app menu table. And then screen is how we're going to differentiate if we want to have, maybe different submenus. We have a column called something like this, screen. And so this is going to go on the home screen menu. This is not an admin view. And that's just kind of how I've set this up. Some of these columns may be different for your use case, but I always like to have the ability to filter views that are maybe only specific for administrators or people that need a little more oversight, that views that not everyone needs. So got that in there. Let's save that. And we can see that it's popping up in our card view here. And let's go ahead and filter these two out. So I have pre-created a couple of slices. And so my home screen slice is right here. I will explain this expression, but essentially it's just looking to see if the logged in user has a role of admin. So in my data tables, I have a users table with two people in it, me and Clark. And you can see I have this role column, and I've only defined two roles so far, inspector and admin. I'm an inspector, Clark is an admin. And so in this slice filter, which is called home screen, so this is going to filter our app menu table. I've checked to see if the logged in user has a role of admin. If they do, so if I were logged in with Clark's email, this would come back as yes, the logged in user does have a role of admin using this lookup expression. If that's true, then the filter that I want you to return is if the screen column equals home. So in our app menu table, I noted that I have the screen column to say which menu or submenu this particular view is going to go on. And so the one we just added, the start new inspection, is on the home screen. And so it's, if you're an admin, the only filtering we want on there is if the screen equals home. If not, if you're not an admin, which is going to be me, my role is not an admin role, then it's going to add an extra filter on there. It's going to also be screen equals home because this is the home screen, so they would all have that. But it's only going to include views where admin only equals false. So back in our app menu table, we have an admin only column, which is asking, hey, should this view only be available to admins? And so all these are false, so I would be able to see all of these. But if we add a view in here where admin only equals true, then me as a lowly inspector would not be able to see that view. So that's why I set up the slice this way, to filter out some views. And so if we go to our home view that we created at the very beginning, and instead of running it just off the vanilla app menu table, we attach it to the home screen slice, you can see that it got rid of those other two views that I had pre-created, and it's only showing us the one view that is set to be on the home screen. So we will just work with that for now, and I'm going to go ahead and save those changes. And now let's customize our card a little bit to make it look nice, because it's kind of all over the place. So like I said, you could use a gallery view here, and it would look exactly like this. I think that looks really nice. There's nothing wrong with using it this way. I'm just going to use the card view to illustrate some differences. And there's also different options here of what it could look like as far as the card view goes. I'm going to use the large one and hide all of these things. So I'm just going to click on all these elements and set them to none so that nothing shows up. And then for the icon here, I want to select the icon column, which is the name of the column that we uploaded that picture to. I'm going to set image fit to contain, so it shows the whole image, doesn't cut it off. I'm not going to show it up there. Let's see, and this is showing the yes no column, so let's hide that. So here we also have a couple of options. I could have the text down here at the bottom, or I could have the same text up here at the top. And you can also have subtext. Either way is fine, whichever looks better to you. I'm going to put it at the bottom just because it's a little bit bigger and it pops a little bit more. And so the only 3 elements that we're using is the image, which we've set to icon, the header, which we've set to the display name. So this is that difference between the link name and the display name. I want the display name. And then the subheader is just some description text that goes underneath. And so now every entry into our menu from here on out will look just like this. And so it will start looking a lot nicer. If you want to sort or give it an order, you can do it here under the sort. Sorting by display name will just do it alphabetically. A thing that a lot of people do that I did not add in is in your app menu table, you can actually give it a display order column. And then, just 1, 2, 3 in order. And then you sort by this column, hide it, and then it'll actually sort it by the number that you assign to it. So whenever you create it, it will sort itself. So let's just go ahead and add that. Why not? We'll make start new inspection the first one. So since I changed my column structure, I've got to regenerate my my column structure of the app menu table in AppSheet. Otherwise, it will break here in a minute. And you can see now in our app menu view, we have a display order column, which for this entry, I had already set to 1 in the Google Sheet. So we have our first view, start new inspection, and I said I wanted kind of a 2-view setup, a start new inspection and view started inspections. And so let's go ahead and create that second one. Let's see, started inspections is what we'll call it. And we'll give the display name view inspections. If I can spell inspections, I misspell that word a lot. Subheader will say view in Sorry, everyone, my headset keeps turning off. Need music in the background. And completed inspections. And then we'll repeat the process for finding an icon. So we'll go back to our material design icons page and search for a new one. And the thing that comes to mind here is list. I like this list alt one, so we will use that. I've already got Android selected and I got the white one, so I'll download that PNG and save it to my app icons folder. Beautiful, and then let me just extract all here. Oh, I already added that one. Perfect. And then back in our form, we'll go ahead and find that icon and add that in. I'm not seeing it. Ah, this is what I didn't instruct. There we go. That should do it. List alt, highest DPI, and the big one. Perfect. And this is also going to go on the home screen. Not admin only. And then we're going to give it a display order. So that popped up of 2. So it'll be the second one. And then we'll go ahead and save. And just like that, now we have 2 menu options. So that's how you can upload some custom icons and give yourself a couple of options here. And now for the kind of the real magic, how do we link to the views that we're actually trying to go to? Because right now, when you click on it, it just shows you the detail view of that record in the app menu table, which is not what we want. We want it to actually take us to the view to start a new inspection or to a view to show you previous inspections. So where the magic happens is if I, go to our home view and go down to the behavior section. Oh, sorry. If it was a gallery view, then down in this behavior section is where you would see this. There would be an option to select an on-clicked event. So when you select a row, you can put a behavior action in there. And so instead of taking you to the detail view of that row, it runs that action. On a card view, you see here we actually have this on click property. So if I just clicks on the card but not on one of the elements, it gives me this on click property. And so if I open that up, you see I've got the ability to run different actions besides just going to the detail view. And so you can see I've already made some actions here. So I'm gonna select this group start inspection, and I'll show you what that is. And this is one of the great benefits of using an app menu like this instead of just the the views across the bottom or in the menu, is you can kick off actions just on the selection of the row that are not just linking to a new view. So you can link to a new view, but you can also run a bunch of other stuff in the background based off of which option they click. And so I'm actually doing that here. You can see my grouped action is running 2 sub actions, a create new inspection action and a link to new inspection action. And so the link is a link to row. And so this is what actually takes us to the other view. And so if I wasn't running any other things in the background, maybe I only have a deep link action that's just a link to view. And a link to view is just link to view instead of link to row, and then the view name. And then it just opens up that view. What I've done here is a little bit more complicated just because I wanted to show a different UI piece where I'm actually creating an inspection record beforehand. So on the row select, it creates an inspection record and then links to that record. And the reason I'm doing that is because I wanted a UI that has a detail view on top and then some related checklists underneath. And I'll show you what that looks like. But this link to row is essentially taking the most recently added inspection that was created. So that's how I'm linking to it. So let's pull up link to row here just to. So if you see this link to row expression, it's really simple. It's just the row key that you're linking to. So the key column, you put the ID value of that key column to the row that you want to link to first, and then comma the name of the view that you're trying to view that row in. And so in our case, the view that we're wanting to look at is the inspections underscore detail view. But the only, sorry, not the only way, the first way that I popped into my head to link to an inspection field or inspection row that I just made was just to select the most recent most recently created inspection. And so that's what this does. You can see this in my AppSheetTraining.com expressions library. I've got it in there and I explain it in detail. But it's essentially taking the top record of this list that's ordered by timestamp. And so it's taking all the inspection IDs and ordering them by the timestamp column, with the most recent at the top, and then taking the top one. And so that's how this is working and how it knows which inspection record to link to.
Yo, CJ,
Yes.
could you use the max row expression?
Yes, you could.
I think that's a short form of this. I think it's good for people to see what's inside of the max row expression, all the things that's happening and knowing each component. But a short form of this is the max row expression, which I think
Yes.
is in other, or maybe at the top somewhere.
Yes, max row takes the maximum value based on a column that you specify. And so there's a lot of ways to skin this cat in particular. So a max row expression would work as well. It would take the most recent record, same idea. But that's how I link to it. And I'll also note that I think potentially there's a better way to do this, because if you had multiple users using this at exactly the same time, theoretically this could present a problem because it's timestamp related. And so another way you could do this is by having a column in the users table, and so sort of an inspection filter type of table, so or a column. And so if I added this in here, I could add an inspection filter column, and instead of selecting the most recent inspection, I could just store the ID of that inspection in my user record. And so it would just put it right here, and then it would use that ID to link to it. So that's potentially a better way to do it if this app had a ton of users on it. But this works just fine for our purposes. And if you have questions about how this sort of thing works and using the user table to have filters and kind of storing values per user, again, reach out and ask. But so anyway, that's how this link is working. And then the create new inspection action is just adding a new row to another table, which is the inspections table. And it is just adding the building and who the inspector is. And I'll demonstrate that in just a second. Because this is going to link to a submenu, and then the submenu is going to use a building value. So let's save our progress so far. Perfect. Okay, so we've got our two views and we've gone over kind of how the magic works. So let's go ahead and set it up. So when I click this start new inspection view, it ran that grouped action and created a new inspection record. But that's actually not what we want it to do. We want it to link to a submenu that shows those two buildings that we saw before. So when I first booted up this home view, you saw a view with building A and building B. And so we actually want this to link to that view. And so that is what we want to set up. So we want to set up another menu view that's not the home view. And we'll call this, see, what did we call the link name in our app menu? So we called it start inspection. So that's what our view needs to be called. And then we want it to be a card view just like this. And we're going to make it a ref position so that it only shows up when we link to it. And we're going to sort it by the display order. And then we want it to keep the same format that we had set up previously. So I'm just going to set all these to none. Oh, this is the right one. Put our icon in. Okay. So cleared all that out. And again, the only elements that we're using of this large card are the image, the header, and the subheader. And then this view, we don't want to run off of the app menu. We want to set up a separate slice for it. And so if you recall, I had this home screen slice, which is to hold all the rows that you see when you start out. And so the way that you kind of create submenus like this is through slices. And so this is my home screen slice. And then I also want a slice for the start inspection menu. And so I've created this, and the only filters I have on it is if the screen, the screen column in the app menu table equals start inspection. So you'll see that these two building A and building B views have the start inspection screen. So that's what this filter is doing. And so if we go back to that view that we're making and we point it to the start inspection slice, then it will filter to only the entries in the app menu table that are specified for the start inspection screen. And you see we've got building A and building B, and then it says start inspection. So let's save that. And the next thing we need to do is we need to have, when we click on this entry, we need to link to that second menu. And so let's just double check our entry here. So the link name needs to be start expression or start inspection, not expression. We go to the home view. That's right. So we need a link that does not do this. So on our home card view, we actually don't want to run this start new inspection action. We only want that to run on the start inspection view. So this is where we just want to set up a simple link to view action on the app menu table. And that type is, where are you? Go to another view within this app of the app type. So we'll select that. And then we will use a deep link expression. Link to view. And then the view name that we want to link to is I just called start inspection, I do believe, which is that menu view that we just set up. So we can double check that. So we have our home menu, and then we should have a start inspection view. So yeah, it's right here. So it's just called start inspection is the view name. So we want our link to view to also go to the start inspection view. Actually, we don't want this. We want it to be dynamic. So this is where we're going to put in our column. Sorry, dumb brain. We want this to link to whatever the view name is in our app menu table. And so the link name of that entry, that start inspection entry in our app menu, is start inspection. So rather than typing the text start inspection into this link to view, I want to use the link name column so that it's dynamic. And if I add another entry into our app menu table, it won't go to the start inspection because that's not what we want. We want it to go to whatever the link name is. So glad I caught that. That would have been super awkward. And we don't need to display this because we're just going to run it when we select our menu option. And we will save it. And then on our home card view, we want to change this start new inspection to our link to view action that we just made. So this is just going to link to again, that link name column, whatever the text value is in there, it's going to link to a view that's named that. So we'll save that. And now when we select the start new inspection view, it will take us to this submenu, the start inspection menu. And the start inspection menu has a different action that it will run whenever we select it, which is the start new inspection action. And so with that, we've kind of completed the menu part of the user flow of the start inspection. We still need to link this guy up. But the view inspections part, we would want a view that is called, I'm assuming it's called view inspections. It's actually going to be called started inspections. So we want to create a view called started inspections for this option to link to. I created a view already called view inspections that is just a card view of inspections we started already. So I'm just going to change the name so that our link will work. And this is just going to list any inspections that have been started. I see a message in the chat. When you start to type in a formula, you get a list under the formula you type. Is that a new thing? Great question. So what you're seeing when I type an expression, things pop up. That is our Crew Tools extension. And so you see I have this little pop-out arrow on the right side here. And it's a Chrome extension, so it'll work in Google Chrome or any Chromium-based browser. So I'm using Vivaldi, which is based on the same system as Chrome. So it works on this as well. But it's an extension that lets you store snippets. And so these are expressions that I've written and I want to save them. And if you have a AppSheetTraining.com account, it'll store them in the cloud using that. So you can see I'm logged in to my AppSheetTraining.com account. So it stored all my snippets in the cloud. It shows you the schema of the app that you're in.
Now, I don't know if this version of Crew Tools is live yet.
Yes.
I believe it was supposed to go out this week, but I'm not sure if it did or not. So you may not yet have access to that, Rainer, but it should be for sure live next week. The crew team has just been working with it and testing it and making sure that there hasn't been any bugs. But we hope to make that live for you guys as soon as possible because we do think that it is quite helpful. Could make your expression writing 10 times faster. It's pretty great.
Yeah, exactly. I switched my mic, so I shouldn't cut out anymore. But yeah, that's correct. I'm on the beta version, and so the pre-filling that you're seeing as I type isn't live yet. But this sort of layout, for the most part, is on the live version, so you can get some benefit out of it. Great question. Keep them coming. Please ping the chat if you have a question. so now that I fixed the name of that view and changed it to started inspections, which was the value that I had in the link name, when I select view inspections, it shows me a list of all the inspections that have been started. And so that is great. And the next thing is this menu. And so the idea here is once I get to this menu, this is running that grouped action that I showed you previously. And so now that I move this over to the start inspection menu, this only happens once I'm here. So when I'm in the home menu, it's just linking to one of these two views. But once I'm in this view and I select building A or B, it creates a new inspection and then it links to that inspection record, like we kind of went over previously. So if I want to start an inspection on building B, I select it, it creates an inspection on building B and shows me a timestamp, sets it to in progress. These are initial values. And then the other UI piece that I kind of just want to highlight and maybe close out with is this sort of idea of related records underneath a detail view. And so the reason why I'm running a group action for the starting a new inspection view instead of just linking to like an inspection form, so why am I going through these extra steps, is to get this. And so it creates a record in the inspections table, which is this guy. So this is the parent record. And you can see it doesn't actually have any info on here. There's no inspection info on here because this is the parent record. And the actual checklists are displayed beneath it. And so the reason you might want to do this is say building B actually has different checklists, different things you need to check from building A. So on building B, there's a building safety checklist and an inspection or an equipment inspection checklist. But if we create an inspection of building A, there's also a building safety, but then a safety devices checklist. And so they're different. And so it gives you, in this inspection app world, it gives you the ability to one, give you a different UI piece. Instead of just linking to a form, you can kind of view the parent inspection info, and there could be more stuff here. And then you could see your inspection checklist underneath. And then I would set this table up, instead of taking me to this, to open the form for this checklist. And so we would go about that in the same exact way by creating a link to view expression, so link to checklist. And this would be on the inspections checklist table. We'll go to the view for this app and link to view. That is the wrong section. Inspections. Underscore checklist underscore inline is the name of that view. Oh man. And then I can use my extension to double check. It should be correct. Inspections checklist inline right here. And we're going to hide this. And then I'm going to, instead of creating more inspections, I'll go to the view inspections one and go into this inline view here. And in the same way that I did before, even though it looks different, down under the behavior of this inspections checklist view. So this is the deck view that's showing up underneath the inspections record. I can go down to the behavior section and change the behavior of the row selected. So if I go to the linked checklist action, then whenever I select a row, it will link to that row. Also, I'm realizing that I completely set up that that link incorrectly. I don't want it to go to the inspections checklist inline. I want it to go to a column value, just like I did before. And I want it to go to the name of the checklist that I want to see. So if it's building safety, I want to open the building safety checklist. So I'm going to use the name column instead. So again, set up the same way, and it's the same idea of using tables just as links. So again, this inspections table, or this inspections checklist table, doesn't have any information in it. The actual forms and the questions are in these tables, right? So these would be the actual responses that would get recorded. But this is just showing me a representation of those forms and letting me link to them by selecting one of these rows. And so if I were to create a form view called safety devices, and we'll just spin that real quick and we'll close with that. And we want it to be the safety devices responses table. So it pulled up that form for me, and we'll just go ahead and save it. And see, safety devices is building A. So if we go to some inspections that we've set up, it's on building A, and we click on safety devices, that inline checklist, it opens the safety devices form. And so that's kind of the completion of the workflow. And now these are actually the questions that would be relevant to the inspection. Are there fire extinguishers? Are there overhead sprinklers? Yes. Does the carbon monoxide alarm work? Just made some things up. But this completes kind of the user flow from landing on your home screen, right? And so the user logs in and they only see these two options, and then they start an inspection on building A, and then they have these checklists, right? They're different forms. So the building safety form is different from your safety devices form. And then again, when they select a row, it's just linking them to a different view. And then I have these show columns in here, which are for kind of prettying up the form. I don't have the time to fully dive into those, but you can set those up in the table. And so you would configure it as a show type. And then you can have both a page header, call it I for time's sake, and a section header. And we'll call this one, this is a section. And so it will actually convert those two columns to show the content that I entered in the content area and make the form look a lot better. So just to close out and to recap the concepts that I'm wanting to communicate are one, kind of the app menu setup where you can customize the look and feel of your app from the first screen that your users land on, and how you set up deep links and use them either on the card view on the row select, so on click link to view, or if it was a gallery view, it would be down here in the behavior section on the row selected. And then the other idea that I think is really helpful is, again, just controlling your user flow. So from start to finish, your user logs in and they've only got two options: start a new inspection or view inspections. And then once they click on run, they've only got two options: building A or building B. And then it lands them on the inspection screen, and they've got 2 checklists to do underneath. And that is all that they can see and do in the app. And it's hard to mess it up. You can't go anywhere else. You just start to finish. And so that's kind of the idea behind deep link expressions and linking from one place to another. And so instead of using the out of the box opening the detail view that AppSheet comes with whenever you select a row, using deep link expressions to go somewhere else that you pick is a really powerful way to both improve the experience that your users get and also help dumb proof it and just point them exactly where you want them to go. So I hope that was helpful. I apologize for the mic cutting out and any spots that I lost my way and took a pause. Please reach out to me or Clark personally if you have questions. I would love to explain things in more detail and better. But thanks for listening. Thanks for having me. You guys are great.
Dumb proof. That's the best way to describe it. CJ, if you wouldn't mind going to that last slide.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But so glad that we could have you guys today. Again, we are AppSheetTraining.com, powered by CrewTech. We'd love to hear from you guys. We'd love to be able to reach your specific questions and be able to help you guys with whatever you need. My email is there at the bottom if you do have a question about something that was went over today, or if you have another topic that you'd like us to go over. We'd love to be able to do that for you. But I do think that we have the next 2 weeks of webinars planned out. So those will be happening. I don't remember which ones are next, but I do know that Cameron is next week. And then we will have Stefan again the week after to be actually hosting the webinar. So all that to say, glad to have you guys. Glad we could give you guys some more content. And we'll see you guys again next week. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your day
Bye, everyone.
or night.